Okay, hello. My name is Baba-Jallah Epega. I'm the chairman and founder of EMC3. We have offices in London, Lagos, and Boston, USA. Talking about creative industry trending career changes. We've seen in our industry quite a few people obviously migrate into different careers because of the first and foremost the pandemic, but also underlying within that we've noticed because of the trend towards fintech and the innovation in technology, there have been a lot of Generation Z, we like to call them, or the younger generations who have a kind of mentality of a slash industry career diversions. I mean by that they are slash musician, slash designers, slash someone working in technology, IT. So they find that their jobs that have not been created for this generation yet, that they're looking for. They're seeking their own pastures new. They might be a slash musician, for instance, and slash PA. So there's been a lot of dexterity in our industry, the events and marketing and communication industry, because we found a lot of the kids that are coming up, they want to work in our industry, but they also want to work in other industries. So time allocation is very important and time management is very important. And we found that you've got to be flexible as an employer. You've got to be able to talk to your staff to find your own goals, of course, of your business targets, but make sure you get the right productivity out of your staff, because between men and women, of course, both are very adept and skillful. But sometimes a man might want to be more with his family, or a woman might want to be more with their family. But it doesn't mean productivity changes. And technology has helped us with that. We're on a platform now that's a software that's virtual, and we found that that plays a major part within society's progression and productivity. So I think career change, you just got to be flexible. And you've got to be adaptive and adaptive to the reactionary evolution of time. And you see the employee industry, or the employees are changing, so you've got to change with them.
So
And
do you think the people are prepared for that kind of changes?
no, in one straight word, I think that people want to be prepared, but there's a lot of learning. There's a lot of research. Atanas, I've been in this industry now 20 years, and I've seen a lot of changes. And before that, I was in banking. I saw a lot of changes in that. I think you just got to be flexible, because you can only be prepared for the unexpected, and you've got to move with the times.
Yeah, and what about the virtual events and their role in the society right now?
I'm both. It's weird because I run an event and marketing company. I'm on both sides of the coin with this one, because obviously the last 18, 20 months has helped us communicate virtually. We've been communicating virtually, but there's nothing like pressing someone's hand or hugging someone and saying hello face to face, eye to eye. Virtual events have helped us communicate, but also have withdrawn, I think, a certain aspect of our I suppose, human instinct to connect. We're very sociable animals. We talk a lot, obviously, and talking is only one of the senses, or speaking is one of the senses. You have, obviously, your sight, the smell, the touch, everything that comes with that. So virtual events are good as an interim. And, as we saw with Her Majesty the Queen, she won't be attending COP26 this year because she's obviously of an age that she can't move around as much, but she's going to be recording a virtual message. So times there, it is needed. But I think as a mainstream interactive action is much better. But saying that, virtual events are very good. Hybrid events, we're the most adept at hybrid events. You can still do like a television show that streams to thousands of people in a TV studio, and you can still connect with people. It just depends on what you're offering these people. You've got to be interactive.
Are you planning to organize any in-person events currently or soon?
That's a very, very good question. Personally, we have plans with some of our clients, fintech clients and banking clients, to organize events in 2022.
Oh,
Towards, I know, September 2022. But saying that, we also have some Christmas parties. As you know, December's coming up now. So
yeah.
the clients want to entertain their staff. They want to connect with their people. Working 3 days a week is quite hard for a lot of people in the office. So they want to have some kind of connectivity. So we're doing a lot of small experiential events or experience events that we can take clients to. But, the Grand Prix are on. They're still going very well. We take clients to that. Some of the big events like Expo 2020 in Dubai, even though it's 2021, there's some clients going to that. So slowly but surely, with health precautions, we're going to open up.
And can you predict which will be the most relevant problems, issues organizing events in 2022?
The biggest problem will be it's a double-edged sword with that one, because the biggest problem obviously is the health issue, where people are very worried that the pandemic will surge again and their events, the clients, I mean, will be closed down if they invest money, even though now the insurance companies are picking up and catching up with the insurance to give people a bit of leverage or a cut where we'd call it force majeure. If their event is cancelled, they get their money back. But the other big factor for corporates, especially, we're finding is the sensitivity issue. A big corporate doesn't want to organize a big event because they may be seen to be not doing the right thing. It's politically almost incorrect to organize an event for more than 500 people to sit down dinner. So you're finding the corporates don't even want to organize an event, because what if someone gets sick at the event, or there's a virus, surge within their event, and that's bad PR for them. So they don't even want to organize it. But we're finding a lot of charities and a lot of funding, NGOs are doing events because you've got to raise money for so many. The problem with this pandemic is not the health only. Of course, that's a big problem. But it's the economic, disaster that it's caused all around the world. So I think the two most important things will be the health factor and the sensitivity factor for politics.
And can we say that events are good money right now, and the virtual events are maybe the main thing right now, saving the whole creative industry? Is the right statement?
I think again, it's funny. I'm like Humpty Dumpty sitting on the wall, but hopefully I won't break. But I'm sitting on both sides, because I think that the obviously, as you say, the virtual events are good for the creative industry because they allow us to communicate and they allow us to connect with clients or other businesses. But the fraction of money that's made within these virtual events and the computation or the technological innovation that's needed for these events kind of cuts a lot of companies out and a lot of businesses out. So you're finding that not everyone can do these virtual events to the standard that they can do a live event. So their budget revenues are decreased, their staffing is decreased, and their forecasting is very, what's the word? It's inconclusive. They can't forecast as they used to. So virtual events are good, but you're finding that a lot of people can't do virtual events. You'd be surprised, and a lot of people don't want to. For going back to your last point about people finding it hard to actually get into this technology. So it's a tough one.
Can we talk about communities and community building? Is it the most impactful way to be sustainable in the creative industry?
Sustainability is a major point now in the events business, and specifically you have, for example, I was watching again COP26, the information, there are 25,000 people going to Glasgow for COP26, and it's almost like a oxymoron of sorts, where you have people go into a climate change event all flying, So, but there's the argument saying they need to fly to stamp this climate change progression agreement to make it stop. But I found that the community building is very important virtually. It works and it's sustainable. It's less of a, even though, you know, switching on your laptop or your computer still has an energy, you know, outage, of course, but it's not the same as flying or meeting people wherever you physically. So there is a sustainability you know, to having online virtual events. It's much better for the environment in comparison to meeting, let's say. But for the community, you've got to think of the hardware and the software of this. The hardware is the human being. How do we connect? You know, how do people feel? And this is something we're going to discuss, the mental health and mindfulness. When you touch someone, it's much more tactile, obviously, but such a much more fulfilling than seeing them on a screen, and even if it's 3D or flat screen. So building communities is easier online, much easier, whether it's WhatsApp or you're using one of the softwares, as you said, like Zoom, Hopin, Google, whichever one, StreamYard, you know, as we are. But you can't beat meeting people, a community. So instead of this globalization that the world was pushing towards the 20 noughties, as we call them, you know, and the 20 early teens, now you're seeing communities finding their own little pockets within their regions or geopolitical zones. And I find that the virtual world has made that, even though we're much more bilateral or across the board with, you know, using the virtual platforms, you're becoming more communal in your regions. And that's a strange thing, because you think technology will give everyone. I can speak to someone in Bulgaria, I'm in London, I can speak to someone in Azerbaijan or in New York or in, you know, Auckland, New Zealand. But then you're finding people are becoming more insular, and it's a strange human factor. So that's one for the scientists.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about mental health, but I want to build into this topic because I think we have some things to say before switching the theme. Can we talk about pros and cons about popularity? What's happening in the kitchen of people being famous? You work with many celebrities. You can say how many and who are they?
Yes, well, wow. Going back 20 years, it's celebrities. There's celebrity by fame and there's celebrity by excellence. You know, they're different, distinct. And I think in the cult of society now that we live, the celebrity of being a celebrity is different to someone who's a celebrity who won a Nobel Prize or won the NBAs or is an Olympic runner or swimmer. So we've worked with quite a few, going from, you know, the greats in UK, Her Majesty the Queen, of course, who's the ultimate celebrity here, but also the likes of Michael Palin in England, to pop stars, you know, to the Dalai Lama we've worked with. We've worked with Mahala as well. We've worked with individuals like, for instance, the man who's in the news now, Alec Baldwin, you know, to people like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, to people of different styles like Brad Pitt, actors, to athletes, you know, footballers as well. In England, we have huge following, as you do, of the top leagues of football, who we've worked with. And it's our world musicians like Ice-T, who's a big rapper in Western, you know, Western world, to Jay-Z, people like that. And even we've had events with Mrs. Obama, who's a great speaker and an inspirational, motivational speaker, to the Williams sisters, who play tennis, of course, and the world, you know, the world's best ever in tennis, across to, you know, just activists like Bono, who we brought on for, not for his music, but for what he represents in trying to help the poor in the world. So you have individuals who become, who are celebrities because of their achievements, and they use that celebrityism to better the world. And then you have some celebrities who the celebrities, because they're an Instagram sensation, let's just say, or they're an influencer. And I'm not belittling them at all. I'm just saying that both of them suffer from the constraints of their celebrityism, where they have to keep it fueled. People are insatiable with these celebrities. They want to know, what did you eat for breakfast? Snap, snap. Where did you go for the premiere? Snap, snap. So they become almost incarcerated in a gilded cage. By that I mean they're like a canary in a gold cage that they can't go out, even though it's made of gold. And they actually have to perpetuate their fame through their celebrityism or populist ways, which are the social media, of course, TV, etc., etc. And that, in a way, you have the pros where you get gifts all the time. We've seen, even we have given just gifts, and sometimes you call it endorsements, but they're gifts as well. People send you loads of things. You go to a hotel, you have a free room, you get free food, you get the free car, which is always the pro. And obviously you get to endorse things for millions of pounds or sterling or euros or dollars or whatever. But then you get the cons, where your life, like for instance, the royals, call them Princess Diana. She died in an accident in Paris, in a tunnel, because they were trying to flee the paparazzi. So their cons are your life is not your own anymore. And even down to Alec Baldwin, the Baldwins, if he wasn't who he was, the world would not know about the shooting as much as it does. So from being the great actor to being a villain, almost, alleged villain, he didn't, obviously no criminal charges or anything, but you hang under the sword of Damocles, using one of the old Greek mythology adages, where you're hanging on a sword, underneath a sword with a rope on it. And even though you are the king, it's dangling over your head, and any moment it could slice you. So you have to weigh that up. And it's something that, again, mental health plays a part. And you might see a comedian laughing and smiling all the time, but inside he or she is very sad, because they have no life. But you make your choices, so you can't pity them, but you can pity them.
And what's happening behind the curtains in the kitchen? What do you have any stories that you can share about mental health, about how they prepare for such an event?
I would tell you that I can't name names, of course. That wouldn't be fair, and I've signed NDAs. Yeah. But one thing that we have found with especially musicians, actors, maybe not so many politicians or statesmen or stateswomen, is that the celebrity you see on the screen, obviously, is a persona, an alter ego to the real celebrity you meet. And by that, I mean 7 out of 10 times when we've had a very big star come on, who's a musician or an actor or someone, they're very scared to go on stage. They have to go through a process to build their shield to go on stage. You forget the outpouring of love. You open your soul to people when you go on stage, and you allow people to see your, your delicate side, I would say. You're delicate and you're vulnerable. That's the word I was looking for. Your vulnerable side. So a lot of these stars, before they go, they're absolutely petrified. Some of them have to drink. Some have to psych themselves up like you do before you play a football or a rugby match, or go go for some sports. And it actually, it does bemuse me, and it baffled me sometimes how much you think this person's so confident on stage, they're so funny, or they're so great, and in reality they're in bits, they're a nervous wreck. So you play a part in saying you're the best, you can do this. You become almost like a coach, even if they have a manager there or an agent or something, because then they're like, oh, is this right? When you're doing rehearsal, am I saying it right? Something, and you realize that they're human. There is a human factor to every person, and that's something that you don't see outside of the box, and behind the scenes. It's always that you meet the person, you really get to know a person for 3 minutes. It's usually a very short time. You get to know that person personally. I mean, as if they're your best friend almost, because for that 3 minutes, they're your best friend and you're their best friend. And that's that usually how it is. And,
Yeah, it's like a switch on and off button, and they can do that immediately when
yeah,
every place.
exactly. But it takes a
And
lot of psych up for them to get to that.
yeah, yeah. And how do you think this affect the people, the attendees, the people
The
that they're
attend
looking?
Okay, the delegates and the attendees. I
Yeah,
think they want their money's worth, and understandably, if you buy a ticket to something, whether it's a concert or conference, or you go to symposium or stadium, whatever it is, you want to be entertained, or you want to be baffled, or you want to be intellectually stimulated. So, for that person, human beings as a collective is not human beings as an individual. So, and I mean the mob mentality, where as a group you think differently to if you meet someone one on one. And we've seen that in football matches, we've seen that in your stadiums, we've seen it across the board. So I think those delegates or attendees, they want their money's worth and they deserve their money's worth. So if you mess up, you're like, what did I didn't pay for this, but they're human as well. So if that person who's the MC or the speaker or the keynote or the musician opens up to them even more, you'll find that people are very sensitive to that. There's an emotional intelligence, which is a new term in the last 20, 30 years of human beings, that you pick up and empathize with someone else. And that's a key factor to remember as an attendee. The person up there might be as scared as you would be, even if they are super talented and even if you love them and they look super confident. So give them a break, a little bit of a break. Yeah, they're only human.
okay, we can make a guide how to attend events right now here, because you mentioned many things that are related to the event. So can we say how you can attend virtual events in the best way possible?
I think obviously the production of the virtual event is very important because that gives you the base camp, as we call it, of the event. So to find events in your area, there's a lot of different software we use. I mean, you're using StreamYard, we use Hopin, we use different kinds of software, Zoom, of course, there's Microsoft, but you need to connect with people, the right-minded or like-minded, or do your own research. I always say in Europe, in England at least, 69 to 73% of people stop researching and learning after they leave school. Some people go to university, but you do your own research. Don't just take what you see on the screen as verbatim, as real. Make sure you research yourself. And there's a lot of registrations you can go to find the right event. Firstly, you need to know what you're looking for. Don't get surfed on, as we say. What are you looking for? What are your aims? What are your goals? What is the objective of what you're looking for? Is it a new job? Are you looking to understand your job currently better? Are you looking to find love? Are you looking to find music? So do your research on that. And there's a lot of software and a lot of people doing good work in the community with virtual events. So you can find the right to register it, find it. Do your research on the company, what the content is, what it's about, and what the conference is about, and then listen in. You don't have to participate straight away. If you're very outspoken, you can. There's always chat boxes, etc., etc. So make sure you do your research. I always say that research. You can take over the world with the right research.
Yeah, and maybe my final question will be about career change again. Do you recommend to people that they can switch careers? For example, they are currently in the restaurant sector or something like that, to switch and go to the events and production industry?
I think there is a hospitality is a big industry, leisure and entertainment, you call it. There are different sides, as you say. If they're in the restaurant, let's say they're a waiter or waitress, and they want to switch, remember, if you want to go into, let's say, the film industry, you don't just have to be the actor. You could be a sound engineer, you could be a videographer, you could be someone who is the coordinator of the floor management. You could be, there's so many different jobs. Do your research and find out what particularly interests you. If you want to go into event and production, are you a designer? Do you want to design gifts? Do you want to design the screen? Do you want to design, let's say, websites? Or are you an event production specialist? Do you want to coordinate the event? Or are you a manager? Or are you a runner? You've got to start somewhere. So are you a marketer? Are you a communicator? There's so many different parts of events that you could be. Are you the entertainer even? You know, you could be. So do your research and don't feel that you have to pigeonhole yourself into one. I think this 21st century we are now, things have changed, and the world you don't need to commit to one vocation, but you need to have skills for quite a few. You know, I'm not saying you should be jack of all trades and master of none, but I'm saying that have some experience and be humble. Sometimes if you come from being head manager or head restaurant manager, you might have to start as a trainee again. And depends what part of the cycle of life you're in. If you have family or you're alone, all these things, your financial status, but always be ready to be humble. Humility is a good thing, and knowledge is power.
Okay, thank you so much for this interview. Hi, we will continue with the program of our 5th anniversary. I was here with my best friend, Baba-Jallah Epega, and see you soon.
Well, thank you. Take care.
Okay, and